Today, we're going to be talking about two-step equations. Two-step equations are a little bit more trickier than one-step because they involve two operations instead of one. First, we want to identify which side the variable is on. So in this case, it's to the left. Then we want to think about what are we doing to the variable. Well, we're multiplying it by 3 and then adding 3 onto it. Equals 9. And I'm just going to quickly label the operations here. Multiplication and addition. Remember the order of operations? We use the abbreviation PEMDAS to help us remember which way we normally do order of operations first. So remember the P stands for parentheses, E for exponents, M and D for multiplication and division, A and S for addition and subtractions. Well, whenever we're solving for variables in an equation, we want to go in the reverse order. What do I mean by that? Well, notice how we have multiplication here and we have addition here. According to PEMDAS, we should do multiplication first and then addition. But because we're solving for a variable in an equation, we have to go in the reverse order. What does that mean? That means we have to deal with the addition first. Well, let's think about what's the opposite of adding. Well, that's subtracting. Okay, what are we adding by? We're adding by 3 here. Okay, what's the opposite of adding by 3? Well, it's subtracting by 3. And that's exactly what we're going to do to both sides of the equation. Just going to subtract 3 on both sides. Once you subtract 3 on both sides, you get 3h equals 9 minus 3. You'll notice that adding and subtracting by 3 will result in 0. And then we'll get 3h equals 6. Well, now we deal with the multiplication. Well, what's the opposite of multiplying? Well, it's dividing. Well, what are we multiplying here? Well, we're multiplying by 3. So the opposite of multiplying by 3 must be dividing by 3. So we divide 3 on both sides, and we'll get h equals 2. Here's another problem. Notice how we have the variable on the left-hand side of the equation. What are we doing to the w? Well, we're dividing it by 3, and then we're subtracting it by 2. So I'm just going to mark that. Division and subtraction. If you remember PEMDAS, again, just going to quickly write that on the side. We would normally do division first and then subtraction. But again, when we're solving for variables in an equation, we want to go in the reverse order. That means we have to deal with the subtraction first. Well, we're subtracting by 2 here. Well, what's the opposite of subtracting by 2? Well, it's adding by 2. So we're going to add 2 to both sides of the equation. W over 3. And you'll notice that subtracting adding by 2 results in 0. 2 plus 2 gives me 4. W over 3 equals 4. Now we just have W divided by 3 equals 4. Well, what's the opposite of division? Well, it's multiplication. What are we dividing by? We're dividing by 3. What's the opposite of dividing by 3? It's multiplying by 3. So we're going to multiply both sides by 3. And you'll notice when you multiply by 3, the numerator and denominator cancels out to 1. So you just have a W, or 1W, equals 4 times 3, which is 12. Therefore, W equals 12. Here's another problem. Notice how the variable is on the left-hand side of the equation. What are we doing to variable? Well, we're adding 11 to it, and then we're dividing it by 3. I'm just going to label addition, division here. And if you remember the order of operations, PEMDAS, and because we're solving variables in an equation, we're going to go in the reverse order. You might think, well, normally division comes first and then addition, so I have to deal with the addition first. But you must remember, whenever we have a fraction bar and we have multiple variables and numbers, we're really implying a parentheses here. So this is a group, the group of z plus 11, and then divide that by 3. Well, if you look at the reverse order of operations, parentheses comes last. What does that mean? Well, that means we have to deal with the division first. So what is the opposite of dividing by 3? Multiplying by 3. So we're going to multiply both sides by 3. The numerator and denominator will result in 1. And we're left with z plus 11 equals 9 times 3. Or z plus 11 equals 27. Now we're just left with the addition here. What is the opposite of adding by 11? Well, it's subtracting by 11. And when you subtract 11 on both sides, you'll get z equals 27 minus 11, or z equals 16.